Dave Chappelle appeared to joke, oh, it was a trans man. He's faced a lot of criticism over his jokes about, they're not jokes about trans people, they're jokes involving the issue of trans activism. But are we in danger of this territory, especially in the wake of Will Smith and Chris Rock and the Oscars, that if someone says something you don't like, you could just jump up on stage and attack people?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is what everyone was saying after Will Smith attacked Chris Rock, because it comes amidst, I think there's been a development in recent years that words can be violence, that speech can be violence. And if it hurts me or it makes me angry, I can silence it, censor it, react to it any way I want. And now maybe people are thinking, well, if I have an emotional enough reaction to it, then it justifies me slapping or kicking or hitting or punching the person who's upset me. I was very surprised when Chris Rock was slapped by Will Smith. A lot of people said, well, he deserved it. That was a horrible joke, and you shouldn't get to make horrible jokes like that without repercussions, without thinking it was a joke. Yeah. It was words. You respond to it with more words.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, we went from, never kissed a Tory from the left to punch a Tory to, throwing milkshakes over people like Nigel Farage and attacks on comedians, not just cancelling their careers and trying to make sure they can never appear on stage again, but, as you say, physical violence. This is a really worrying development. I say we don't know the arguments this man will or will not make for why he did what he did. He may just have been someone drunk. We don't know. But Dave Chappelle mentioning the trans thing, say it was a trans man, he has been accused of being transphobic. I've watched all of his Netflix specials. Some are better than others. He's a very clever, very funny guy. There is no evidence whatsoever he's remotely transphobic. There's nothing he's ever said that's transphobic. He makes jokes about everybody, including black men like himself. He pokes fun at everybody. But he's been accused of transphobia just because there are jokes that involve trans people in them, even when he's actually saying very warm words. I mean, do you think this may be the motivation that if you're a transphobic, then, well, frankly, you're beyond the pale, so you get everything you deserve?
Yeah, it's possible. Like you say, we don't know why this guy did what he did, but I think we've all seen that the trans activist movement, not necessarily all trans people themselves, but
Absolutely
the people
not.
who are part of this movement, are very censorious, and they will try and shut down people who disagree with them.
Well, they're more than censorious. We've seen the likes of J.K. Rowling, who's never, again, uttered anything transphobic at all. I'm sure we'd have found it by now. When you ask people why people hate her for her standing up for women's rights and the existence of women as something other than a figment of men's imagination on a Wednesday afternoon, they say, well, she's transphobic. She gets rape threats, threats against her children, threats of murder. I mean, and this is not uncommon for women who speak out on this issue. I mean, I'm sure Dave Chappelle has had it too. I mean, it's quite extraordinary. These people who say words can hurt, but they're quite happy to issue what are criminal threats of violence.
Yes, you are absolutely right. I mean, with J.K. Rowling, I've heard shocking stuff about her, that she should have her children taken away from her. I mean, just unbelievable things to what, in my opinion, has always only ever been a very thoughtful critique.
Yeah.
It's only ever, even if it wasn't a thoughtful critique, it does not justify the way people have responded to her.
But you can just finally, when we go back to someone being attacked on stage, again, we don't know the motivation, but Will Smith going up on stage, and he's a big guy. Okay, it wasn't a punch, it was a slap. Very strange thing, I thought, for most men to do. But to slap with full force Chris Rock while he was on stage making a joke about his wife, which wasn't a particularly pleasant joke for, I'm sure, his wife to hear, but it wasn't a nasty joke in any meaningful way. The fact that he was then able to be applauded and get up on stage and get his Oscar, that told us that sometimes violence is okay.
Absolutely. I mean, the reaction by the audience was shocking. I mean, it was if, the more emotional he is, the more applause that he gets. I thought that Jim Carrey said the best thing about it, that Hollywood was spineless in that moment. Yeah. And I remember he was interviewed, and the interviewer said, well, it escalated. And he said, it didn't escalate. Yeah. It came out of nowhere.
Absolutely. Candice...